Good, occasionally rhyming, compiled by Rob Stepney and Kathy Clugston. Read by Kathy Clugston, Jim Lee and Adrian Lancini.
To Vice Admiral Robert Fitzroy FRS, dogged captain of Darwin's HMS Beagle and pioneer of the systematic forecasting of weather at sea. Born 1805, died by his own hand 1865. A man who knew how deep depressions form, but could not escape the fate inherent in his own. And also to the many others, whether mariners or forecasters, who work to save lives among those in peril at sea.
No one could write truthfully about the sea and leave out the poetry. Rachel Carson.
Introduction by Rob Stepney. Exact yet evocative, arcane but everyday, fundamentally the same though always different, the shipping forecast holds a treasured place in our hearts. Described variously as a litany, mantra or lullaby, and as soothing, enigmatic, measured and hypnotic, the daily BBC Radio 4 broadcasts provide details about wind, precipitation, pressure and visibility in the waters bordering the British Isles. Radio waves that bind us to those at sea. The shipping forecast is delivered using a precise vocabulary and with all the expressive qualities of a metronome. And the nation loves it. For all the wildness of the weather often described, the ship's is disciplined. Even with conjunctions, there are barely 100 possible words. Faced with the forecast's constraints on language, writers are inspired to challenge its limits, and its solemnity has been eulogised and parodied in equal measure. This tribute to the shipping forecast is a collection of poetry and prose diverse in style and content. There is everything from sonnet to a lullaby, with allusions to John Masefield, Dylan Thomas, John Betjeman and Shakespeare. There is punning and pathos, and much of course on weather and the sea as metaphors for the ebb and flow, sunshine and squalls of human relationships. A unifying factor is the delight in wordplay, riffing off the obscure and straitjacketed, yet somehow inspirational vocabulary of the forecast itself. The 31 sea areas, drawn like a safety net cast around the British Isles, take you on a virtual voyage, starting halfway between the Shetlands and Norway, zigzagging down the North Sea, scooting westwards along the English Channel, down the coast of France, Spain and Portugal, and then via both sides of Ireland up to the west coast of Scotland and the nearest shard of Iceland. The list of sea areas itself almost scans and sometimes rhymes. Humber, Thames, Dover, Wight, Forties, Fisher, German, Bight. Michael Palin says the shipping forecast is full of poetic possibility. Few would disagree. No one who has heard it will forget Alan Bennett's melancholy refrain of rough or very rough while reading the forecast as a New Year's treat on the Today programme. Equally memorable is the reading in support of comic relief by John Prescott, old salt and long-time MP for Hull East, in which he insisted his home sea area was Humber, because it's the way we say it up there. And the wide response to the Spectator's competition for shipping forecast-related poetry showed that this gem of broadcasting truly belongs not just to mariners, but to people as a whole. In a sense, the shipping forecast is the nation's love poem to the sea, in all its uncertain moods and frequent turbulence. In the broadcasts, warning is a keynote, imminent a sharp reminder of impending doom. If this is where you are, then this is what you'll get. Batten down the hatches and ride it out. How wonderful to be safe in the sitting room, or even better, snug in bed, with this book.
Reading the Shipping Forecast by Kathy Clugston. Reading the late-night shipping forecast is one of the most thrilling and, when you first start, terrifying duties of the Radio 4 announcer. It's more than merely reciting a list of places and weather-based words, although doing so clearly and within the allotted time is your primary purpose. It's a ritual, a soother, maybe even a lifesaver, and not only for those at sea. Listeners have often written in, by letter back then, now by email, to say how much they love listening to it. For those overseas, it's a reminder of home. For others, a connection to a beloved family member or friend. For many, it is, as the poet Imtiaz Darker put it, a calm and unhurried antidote to mess and chaos. It reminds us that we are not alone. I treasure a letter I received from a listener struggling with anxiety who found that the litany of familiar place names and the soothing tones provided much-needed solace. What most surprised me when I first got my hands on a shipping forecast, or more accurately, a shipping bulletin, which comprises the shipping forecast, weather reports from coastal stations, and the forecast for UK inshore waters, was how ordinary it looked. I'm not sure what I was expecting, a document inked on parchment, flown in by seagull. In fact, a blizzard of tiny black words arrives by email. Everything is in capital letters with scant punctuation. The sea areas often come in groups, followed by the wind direction, wind speed using the Beaufort scale, precipitation and visibility. Fisher, German Bight, southwest 4 to 6, rain, good, occasionally poor. The full shipping bulletin takes around 11 minutes to read. A pencil is your best friend, a few dashes here to isolate tricky subdivisions like North Utsira and Southeast Iceland, an underlining there, a numbering of pages in case you drop them, a noting of the time you want to hit each section so that you reach the national anthem bang on time. The hundreds of bulletins I read during my time as an announcer were largely incident-free, bar the occasional coughing fit and a couple of occasions when I had to read it twice, either because the previous day's bulletin had been sent by mistake and I hadn't noticed, or due to some technical hitch. My former colleague Peter Jefferson, in his book And Now the Shipping Forecast, recalls a rite of passage in the 1970s when colleagues set fire to his script as he was reading it. He somehow managed to get to the end before the flames consumed the paper. How high a pitch his voice reached is not recorded. Even without today's smoke detectors and stricter disciplinary measures, such japes are unlikely, as the late announcer now sits in the studio all alone. Preparation done, you read the credits of the last programme of the day and start sailing by, the music that precedes the late shipping bulletin, timing it to finish at exactly 00:48 a.m. The studio lights are turned down low. Your foot taps to a silent beat as you get into the flow. The rhythm is everything. Start too slow, and you'll end up gabbling through the last page in a breathless rush. Too fast, and you'll leave yourself acres of time to fill. You must remember to pause and breathe. An actor will try to bring a script to life, to imbue it with emotion. This you must not do. Good at the end of a sentence is not a cause for joy. It is merely a statement about visibility. Neither must you betray sadness at an area of low pressure, losing its identity, nor excitement at the delicious prospect of light icing. The goal is to be measured without veering into monotony, tranquil but not tranquilizing, and to leave room for the little bit of magic that has inspired the creative individuals whose works follow. And that completes my introduction. Have a safe and peaceful listen.
A short history of the shipping forecast.
1831. Captain Robert Fitzroy set sail on HMS Beagle. Among those on board is the naturalist Charles Darwin, whose presence was arranged by Francis Beaufort, inventor of the Beaufort scale.
1854. Fitzroy founds the Meteorological Office.
1859. Steam clipper the Royal Charter is wrecked off the coast of Anglesey in October's Great Storm.
1861. Fitzroy issues the first gale warning. Information is sent to the coast by telegraph, and a visual system of cones and drums used to warn vessels. The first public weather forecast is published in the Times.
1865. Fitzroy dies by suicide. For years he had suffered episodes of depression. He was also experiencing financial difficulties, having spent much of his fortune on funding meteorological projects.
1911. The first weather forecasts are sent by telegraph to ships at sea.
1914. Forecasts are discontinued at the start of the First World War, resuming in 1921.
1924, the Air Ministry begins a
Sample complete. Ready to continue?